I'm Fiske. I am your little pocket life coach. Welcome to Life Coaching on the Move. To all of my existing listeners, welcome back. It's great that you have chosen to listen to this. I am really privileged that you've chosen to listen to this because I know that there are so many other podcasts you could choose and time is so precious. And welcome to anybody new to this podcast. Welcome to the little community. It's great to have you along. This is who I am. You get me very raw. I do not edit. I do not script. I just speak from the heart, usually doing something else at the same time. Today, in fact, I'm ironing. It's all about time management with efficiency. So I'm talking from the heart. I have nothing more to ask of you today other than if you do like the podcast and you have found it helpful, then perhaps tell somebody that you know that might benefit from this or past episodes. They're on all sorts of different subjects and will continue to be in the future. So please share it forward if you could, because you may well be doing other people a favour. It may well be just what they need at that time. So thank you very much for sharing it, and without any further time wasted, let's crack on with this week's podcast. This week I'm taking quite a different approach, one of nature. I decided to draw on nature as an analogy for this week's episode, partly because I've spent a lot of time this week in wet woodlands. The weather at the time of recording this has been dire on the surface, although nonetheless I've still been out doing the dog walks and the runs and everything, and it's the same, just different clothes, as I've said before. And I noticed some great things. I took a great shot actually of beautiful, stunning little tiny toadstools in a massive little clump, or mushrooms. I'm not entirely sure what they were, but just perfect. They hadn't been damaged by any animal walking over them or heavy rainpour. They'd just come up overnight. And it made me realise how clever nature is. You know, in the spring we think the bulbs are up, the daffodils start blooming, they look stunning, the tulips start coming through, crocuses and everything. And you think, oh, it is just so clever, it knows what it's doing. And yet in the weather that we've had, the wet, the bogginess, the dank, horrible, and we think everything's dying off and settling down for the winter, new life came through. There's fungi everywhere. I took some great shots of some beautiful fungus growing on trees, massive mushrooms, little tiny toadstools, and the only things that are missing are little tiny little creatures living under them, little fairies in story tales. It almost invited that. It was just so perfect, and it made me realise how clever Mother Nature is, how perfect the world can be if we just leave it and let it be. And I was thinking, you know, at least we're doing things. Our new local shop that's opened and is trying to be very, very eco-friendly. I noticed there was a sign that they will now take all of our crisp bags and recycle those, which is great, especially in my house with teenagers. There are many crisp bags that come through this house. And so you feel that you can do something to save the planet. But actually I was thinking, you know, we are, many of us, very conscious, and we do our as best we can to try and save the planet, and that's great. But how many of us really, really enjoy the planet? How many of us get out there and enjoy it? I know we sometimes go down to the beach or we go on holiday and spend some time at the beach. But when was the last time you put on some wellies and some wet weather gear and you just mooched around a wood? The thick of a wood, just mooched around in all the beautiful dead leaves that are down, lovely colours. There are conkers down at the moment. Collect some conkers. This morning, actually, on a run with a friend, we didn't even know that they grew around here. We saw walnuts that had fallen off a tree in the road, genuine walnuts, the sort that you buy for Christmas time and have in a bowl in your lounge at Christmas. And there they were, growing and on the floor. You know, there's so much to see and so much to enjoy, and I do celebrate the fact that we are all becoming much more conscious of caring for our planet and caring for our environment and being disciplining ourselves and being kind to it and giving back. But it crossed my mind that do we enjoy it enough? Do we get out there and enjoy it enough? Because Mother Nature really, really does know what it's doing. And with all the plant life quietening down and shedding its leaves, we as gardeners or homeowners or whatever, we also have our little tasks to play, don't we? And I was out there yesterday thinking I need to sort of deadhead all of these old wet dying off flowers, deadhead all the flowers, cut back some of these bushes and shrubs and plants ready for the winter, cut it all back, prune the trees, cut the hedges and so on. Why do we do that? Well, we do that, of course, because, in fact, actually, I Googled it. Why do we deadhead and prune? And this is the reason. With regular deadheading, it channels the energy into the flowers, resulting in healthier plants and continual blooms. So we get rid, I see that symbolically, actually, in life. That's like us, isn't it? So with our plants, by deadheading the plants and getting rid of the dead, dying flowers, you enable that plant then to refocus its energy and flower more, flower better, resulting in healthier plants and more continual blooms. So on the one hand, we feel we're getting rid of the dead. We are, but enabling the plant to flourish further by clearing that out. Having said all of the time that I spend in the woodlands, there's often storm damage in there. When there's been one of those storm Veras or whatever it is, our latest storm that we've had, whenever I go back in there, there will be trees down, limbs of plants, limbs of trees, branches, twigs everywhere. It can sometimes look a bit like a war zone. But if you've got a limb of a tree that's broken and sort of hanging off but hanging on, the best thing to do for that is to remove it, because that will stop further draining of that tree, diseasing that tree, and basically killing off the remains of the tree, which currently are healthy and strong. We've got to remove that damaged part of it, the damaged limb, so that disease doesn't set in, that it doesn't affect and drain the rest of the surviving tree. Same with pruning, cut it back ready for the winter. Same with deadheading the flowers. And I was thinking about that for this podcast, and I think that is true of us. In a way, we need to do that for ourselves. We need to get rid of, with plant life, it's the dying, the negative, if you want to call it negative, the finished with, let's say negative because it could damage the rest of the plant. You've got the plant there, you're choosing to let it flourish, you're choosing to strengthen it and enhance it by removing that. And that is symbolically an analogy that I'm drawing on what we need to do in our lives. And actually, quite often, inadvertently, that's what I'm doing with clients, is getting them to sort of shake everything out and sort out the clutter, the negativity in their life, the stuff that's not working for them, that's holding them back, that's dragging them down, that's draining their energy, that's stopping them flourish, that's stopping them from flowering and blossoming. So my question to you actually is, what is it in your life that is perhaps holding you back or stopping you from flourishing, stopping you from blooming and being a really strong, glowing plant, healthy plant that continues to bloom? What is it? Now, with many of my clients, it might be negative relationships. It might be one particular negative relationships, or it may be a pattern that they're running with friendships and relationships, something within them or something within their expectations, all the people that they're drawn to, and so they get the repeat. Other clients, it could be they're leading a chaotic life. Their desk at work is chaotic. Their deadlines, their time management is chaotic. Their life is chaotic. They go from one firefighting situation to another, always chasing their tail, always rushing around, always late, etc. And that's what's dragging them down and preventing them from fully blooming. For others, it may actually be the wrong job, or the manager and the team that they're working for, the wrong department perhaps. They don't get on with that manager, they're being held back, they're unhappy, they're not appreciated, and so therefore they're in the wrong team, or they just don't enjoy the task, the work, the responsibility that they've got, or they need more responsibility and they're not given a chance to stretch and challenge themselves, for example. Or they're just in the wrong company with the wrong values, the wrong ethos, and that's dragging them down. It's going against what they believe in. It doesn't sit comfortably with them. It doesn't feel right. They're not fulfilled. They're not reaching their potential. So drawing on the analogy of getting out there in the autumn, putting something warm on, going out and preparing the garden for the winter, we need to do that as well for ourselves. Now, at the time of recording this, it has been this week Mental World Health Day, or World Mental Health Day. That's the right. Have I got that right way around? That didn't sound right when I said that. So it's very much at the moment the focus, as it should be and as it often is, and I hope it is every day actually, a focus on our well-being and our mental health. Now, I do believe, certainly from my own experience, I feel better when I've got rid of that clutter, when I've had a declutter, when I've had a tidy up or a sort out, when I've basically symbolically got out there and deadheaded all my flowers. Now, that could be, for me, tidying up my office and my desk and all my files. It could be getting out there and spring cleaning the car, and it's a terrible mess and old crisp bags in there and dog mess and stuff. Not dog mess, but dog hair. And you feel better after it, don't you? So for you, the question is really, to make this relevant for you, is to do some soul searching. What if you were with me one-to-one and I asked that question, what is the dead head on your plant? What is the broken limb on your tree that needs sort of cutting right back? Get the chainsaw off, remove that very broken branch and let the tree flourish. What is it in your life? Is it something to do with work? Is it something to do with your business? Is it something to do with family, chaos, your organisation, your time management, your productivity, your friendships, your health, your weight, your fitness and all of that? Does that need shaking up because you've just taken your eye off the ball, you're not eating well, you've got in a bit of a downward cycle with your food intake and your lack of exercise or something like that? It's personal to all of us. It could be your finances. Have they got wayward and need a good old sort out, and cancel some standing orders and change your phone provider and sort your contract out and all of those things? Or it could be a little bit of all of the above. What the podcast today is about is drawing your attention to the fact that what could benefit from a good old sort out. Because if we remove the negativity, if we tidy it up, remove what's holding you back and preventing you from flourishing, flowering and blooming, then of course to get rid of it, and that enhances everything, lets you shine, lets you grow, lets you evolve and develop. I know the other day, I've got this very large cupboard. They call it a larder cupboard in the kitchen. What it is just a big, deep cupboard. And what that means is when we had the kitchen done 6 years ago, I put things in there, and right at the back, you can't actually see them because I'm quite small and quite short. There has literally been stuff in the back of that cupboard that I have not seen for 6 years. Genuinely, I do believe that if I had fed the family with some of those items that I found, I could quite literally have seen the family off. But I got a black sack bag, rubbish bag, and turfed out one shelf, then turfed out the next, got another black bag. Could not believe how much stuff was dated back to 2017, 16. Oh God, it was horrendous. But it was such a great feeling to get rid of all of that stuff that I didn't even know I had that was toxic, quite literally toxic. Now I've got clean larder with just a few items in there, so I can immediately, when I'm doing my order online, I immediately know what I do and don't need, what I've got plenty of and what I'm low on. Far easier, far more efficient, far healthier. It was a great feeling. It was good for my mental health as well. I felt a real sense of achievement. That carried on. Similarly with old shoes in the cupboard. We've got a shoe a cupboard full of old shoes that kids are grown out of. And what do? We just add new ones in there and pile them up on top. Recently, black bag, to the recycling, this pair of shoes, that pair of boots, that pair of trainers, all outgrown, got holes in, whatever, get rid. And so now it's so much easier to find everything. So that for me was a great opportunity to turf out, sort out, shake up and reorganize. It's really, really therapeutic. It's a great way of feeling a sense of achievement, getting some organization going. But it's more deep than that. It's not just a case of tidying up your kitchen cupboards or your shoe cupboard. I want you to go a lot deeper than that. It could be that you've got particular friendships or relationships in your life that are draining you. We've all got drains in our life of some sort. The friend that we have to be in the right mood for, and it can drag us down sometimes if we're not in the right framework. But have we got a lot of those? Do we find ourselves saying yes to all of their demands when really we should say no sometimes? Because actually the person that suffers ultimately is ourselves. We've said yes to that person when we should have said no. We really overstretched ourselves. Stuff that we need to be doing is now suffering as a result. So I think we need to take sometimes a bit of a tidy up of friendships or acquaintances or your colleagues, the demands from them, what we are allowing to happen, what we are giving out, when in fact it would be better if we weren't. It would be better if we were negotiating, pushing back, having more boundaries, being kinder to ourselves, fairer to ourselves. And perhaps there may even be some relationships or friendships in your life that actually it would be best not to have. They really are detrimental, they really are draining and potentially toxic. That's I think that's one of the benefits of getting older, because you can be a little bit more belligerent with it and a little bit harsher. You can just think, as you get older, life's too short, it's not worth it. I really don't enjoy that person's company, and so I'm not going to that party because it's people I choose not to be with, or I'm not going to that pub because there'll be a group there that they're not my cup of tea or whatever. We don't have to conform. We can make choices. We can, to some, perhaps appear selfish. It's not selfish. It's being honest to yourself, and actually that's quite freeing. It's getting rid of those damaged branches of the tree and letting yourself flourish and your social life flourish, and more importantly your mental health to flourish. So it may be for you that you need to have a good old sort out and tidy up of some cupboards, quite literally. It could be that you need to clear out some toxic friendships, or with the neighbour that always drains you and you get caught from them, you think, oh, or whatever it is. So you might consciously want to spend more time in the right company for you that gives you positives and upbeats and recharging you, rather than those negative ones. It could be your desk. I do absolutely believe if you spend time sorting out your work area, you gain loads more time as a result. Not just the time you've spent doing it, but much more on top. It is true, tidy desk, tidy mind, tidy approach, you're much more effective. We spend so much time per day, some of us more than others, finding things. Have you seen my keys? Have you seen this? Have you seen that file? Have you seen... that is a waste of our time. If we had a place for everything, whether it's work-wise or at home, you knew your keys were always there. You knew your wallet was always there, or your bag was always here. You save so much time. So it may be for your mental health, as we go into the winter now, that you need to spend a day or two, half a day, whatever, clear out stuff that is an issue. Clearing out stuff that is regularly annoying you, a bit like a little stone in your shoe. You keep walking, you ignore it, you hope it'll go away. If you don't get rid of that little stone in the shoe and you keep walking 6 miles, you're going to get a blister. And if you keep walking 10 miles and you don't tend to that stone or that blister's going to get really, really nasty. And if you don't sort that nasty, horrible blister out, it's going to get infected. And if you don't sort the infection out, it gets... do you see what I mean? So although at first it might seem a tiny little bit of a stone in the shoe, you can tolerate it for a bit, but you can't tolerate it long term. So if there are systems in your life, processes in your life, habits and routines, and people that it's not working for you, then maybe as a result of this podcast, when you've reflected on what it is, the key takeaway from this podcast could be spend this week in shaking them up, sorting them out. Sort out a place for your keys every time. Sort out a place on your desk and where your files go, and how you can find things much more effectively, much more quickly. Also, did you know that we wear 20% of our clothes and shoes 80% of the time? Yeah, I've got that around the right way. So 80% of our clothes we rarely ever use, and 80% of our shoes and things like that. So we could have a massive turf out of all of that so that we can find the outfits we do want to wear and find outfits we'd forgotten we had. Sort out the wardrobe, reduce it all down. We don't need that much. We only wear 20% of it most of the time. Turf it out, get it to the charity shop. Take some shoes to the supermarket with you in a bag in the back of the car, and go to the recycling bin for the shoes. Next time you go to the supermarket, take a bag of clothes, just recycle it. So we're helping the planet, feeling good about that. We're helping ourselves, feeling good about that too. It could be that you actually decide that you need to change your job, that actually it's dragging you down. It's all right climbing the career ladder, but is the career ladder on the right wall? Is it the right company? Is it the right role? Is it what you're looking for? If it's not, then shake it up. Because we do need to be ruthless sometimes and get rid of those dead plants so that we can flourish. Same with relationships. If it's a relationship and it's really not going anywhere and it's dragging you down a little bit, but it's all right, isn't it? Someone to go out with. Is that enough? Is that what you want for you? Or do you want to find the right person? But it's only by getting out the toxic and freeing yourself off that is that going to enable it to happen and make it more likely to happen from the decision that you've made and the change that you've made. It might be just small changes at work. If you're unhappy at work, it might be where you're sitting, maybe asked to be moved. It may be a negative person close to you. It could just be some of the tasks you may want to negotiate, some of the tasks and responsibilities you've got, perhaps, if you open up and tell them. It could be that you just want to improve your work area, tidy it up, sort it out, streamline it, make it nicer, photos of the family, a plant, whatever. Just by doing these tiny steps, you're giving yourself a message. You're giving yourself a message that you want to feel happy, you want to feel more in control, you're going to feel happier, you want to enjoy things and appreciate. It's giving your subconscious the right message that actually it's worth the effort, it's worth doing, it's worth clearing for you. You're telling yourself that you're looking after you. It's self-care. And that is a word that I do believe in passionately. So sort your friendships, sort your money, sort your area, sort your home, your cupboards, your clothes. And at the same time, do get out in nature. Do go out there in your wellies. And we're saving the planet, but let's save it and enjoy it and spend time out there. It's so good for you on so many levels for so many reasons. And I have talked about all those reasons, about fresh air, exercise, vitamin D, being close to nature. All of that is good for your mental health. So try it. Try and spend, if you haven't got a dog or a horse and you don't need to go out there, try and make yourself get out into woodlands once a week or so. It is very, very good for the soul. So that is the podcast. Good luck. Go for it. Have a good old sort out, tidy up, and see how much better you feel after it. It's not a spring clean time, it's a deadheading time. So deadhead all of your plants symbolically and get ready for the quiet time in the winter where you can rest, chill out, enjoy it, like the winter outside in the woodlands where all the plants settle down and calm and just rejuvenate through the calm of the winter. Re-strengthen itself, ready for all the activity that Mother Nature's got so well sussed in the spring for all the new life, all the new growth. That's a bit like us in the winter. Do that now. Enjoy the winter so you can enjoy the indoors and the Christmas time, the Halloween, the bonfire night, all of that. Everything's got its place, everything's got its time. And then you'll be ready for the spring uplift, the mood, the getting back out there for different reasons, the spring flowers and all the rest of it. So it's a case of not fighting it, Not dreading it, not dreading the winter, not dreading this time. It's embracing it, going with it, benefiting from it, enjoying it and getting out there and getting part of it. So go for it. Keep yourselves well. Enjoy the winter, enjoy the autumn into the winter, and good luck. Have a good week.